Right now to talk about that is a running back for Green Bay coming off an excellent rookie season. He's a Pro Bowl alternate already. He set franchise rookie records for carries, yards, and touchdowns. For the season, 1,178 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. He was a second-round pick out of Alabama in 2013. And again, you've got San Francisco at Green Bay Sunday. I am joined by Packers running back Eddie Lacy. Eddie, it's really good to have you on. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for having me on.
Man, it's great to have you on. All right, so you're 2 days out from your first NFL playoff game. You've been in some big games before back at your time at Alabama. So does this feel any different to you than the big games you've already been in?
It feels real big. Well, this is a must-win situation for us. We coming in, we about to play a good team. They have a great defense, and we just want to go out there and prove that we can win.
So let me get your thoughts about how different you are now as compared to earlier this season. I mean, you played San Francisco back in week 1. That was your first regular season NFL game, and in that game you had 41 yards on 14 carries. But your teammate James Jones says that the 49ers are going to see, quote, a totally different Eddie Lacy on Sunday than they saw that day. Is that the way it feels to you? And if so, how are you different?
I do feel I feel like that. I feel like a completely different person because back then, I was just starting off and I was nervous in that game in particular, but now I feel, I'm more confident in myself. I'm calm. I know everything I have to do. There's no second guessing with me, and, it's just all downhill.
All right, so when did things first start to click? How long did it take you to feel comfortable and confident?
Pretty much after that game. I know I went out with a concussion like a couple weeks later, but, ever since I came back, I've just been rolling.
Yeah, what about that, Eddie? Have you ever had any concussions before? Was that scary? What was that like going through that?
Oh, that was my first concussion. When I got hit, I pretty much blanked out, and the next thing I know, I was walking to the locker room. I don't remember, standing back up or talking to the trainers on the sideline or anything like that.
Well, I think we all remember that hit, Brandon Merriweather. I mean, so when something like that happens, when you start to come around, were you thinking it's just, quote, a ding, or did you know something was really, really wrong and were you concerned about coming back at any point?
I was more concerned about how long I would be out. I wanted to, we took the right procedures to make sure whenever I did return, it wouldn't happen again or I wasn't returning too early. So, I think as far as taking the right precautions, we did a great job with that.
Eddie Lacy joining us on the program. Once you got by that first game and also that injury, you've come back, and as I mentioned, you've set all sorts of franchise rookie marks. It seems like there hasn't been a really big transition for you to make on this level. What's been the biggest change for you to make, or the biggest adjustment you had to make in the pro game?
The biggest adjustment was the speed of the game and just knowing everything you have to do. When I first started, my mind was everywhere, like in the middle of the plays and everything. I was thinking too much and I wasn't playing fast. But, when I slowed everything down in my head, things just started to click. The game became a lot slower and, I was able to adjust very well.
Packers running back Eddie Lacy, my guest. All right, so it has not been easy. You also were battling an ankle and a foot injury last month. How is it right now in that regard, and how do you expect it to be on Sunday?
It's a lot better now than it was. I went out and practiced a little bit today, and I was moving as if it didn't hurt at all, which, it's still a little sore, but it just felt so much better. And going into this game, I feel as though this is the closest to 100% that it's been since I've been playing on it.
Hey, listen, this is not... I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, this is nothing new, though. I was going to jump in. I was so eager to say, you did this back at Alabama. You've been a guy that has played hurt before. So, in that sense, you went up against Chicago on Sunday. It was a must-win game. You had 23 touches. You weren't 100%. You had a big fourth-quarter touchdown. How much pride did you take in showing up and playing that way while banged up in a game of that magnitude?
It's more about my teammates. I want to, I'm hurt, but I want to show them that, I could go out and, what I do have, I'm going to just sell it out for them and just make sure that whatever I do, I'm doing it to the best of my ability to put us in a great situation.
Eddie Lacy joining us. Aaron Rodgers was back for the Chicago game as well. What did it mean to have him back out there, and then how different is the offense when he's running it?
The offense is very different with having Aaron back. He just, his presence in the huddle, everybody's just, ready. When we passing the ball, it's going to be a great player. He's going to make something out of nothing. And, having him back there, it pretty much changes the defense. They're not going to stack the box. because, he's a great pass threat. So, we pretty much balance each other out.
Eddie Lacy joining us for a few more moments. Green Bay Packers running back had a great rookie year. So facing San Francisco means you're going to face safety Eric Reed, who was your teammate back in high school. He went to LSU. You went to Alabama. You've gone up against each other before. Is it special then to be making your playoff debuts together?
I think it's pretty cool. I'll probably text him later on today. We'll talk about it for a little while. But, I think it's pretty cool for us to come from high school together, play against each other in college, and we both starting our first playoff game against each other.
I mean, is it like, damn, this is crazy? Or is it more like, you know what, we used to talk about this all the time when we were kids? I mean, in a way, it's really not surprising. This is what we expected.
It's a combination of both, because when we were in high school, we did talk about this moment, but, you never expect it to happen, like it's happening, like pretty much the way we talked about it. And so that's the cool part about it.
All right, so growing up in the South and playing your college ball at Alabama, what was your reaction when you were drafted by Green Bay?
Oh, man, my first thought was, how am I going to stay warm? It's been pretty bad.
Right?
It's been pretty bad out here, but, on game days, I don't think about it too much. When I'm on the side, I get as hot as I can before I'm going back out on the field, and I just roll.
I mean, hey, what about that? I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm from California. I still live in California, and I remember the first time I went to Green Bay, I'd never been so cold in my life, and I just didn't understand how people could function and live and play or work or do anything in elements like that. I mean, is it really mind over matter? I mean, can you go into a game like the one you're going to go into this weekend where it's going to be -5 and block it out? Is it possible to block out that kind of cold?
It's definitely possible. I used to think the same thing when I was younger and seeing the games on TV, like how they playing in such cold weather. But once you get out on the field and adrenaline kicks in and you see the other team over there, it's all mind over matter from then on.
Eddie Lacy, my guest. Before you go, let me get your thoughts on Alabama and Nick Saban, who I mentioned a few moments back. I've got to ask you about that game. What happened to your Tide, and how surprised were you with the way that Oklahoma handled them last night?
Oh man, that was a tough loss for us. I was real surprised that the game went that way. I don't think anybody expected that to happen. We had a few plays we let get away from us, and a few plays we didn't make. And OU did a great job, with their offensive tempo in the first half.
How do you think the coach responds to something like that going forward?
Coach Saban, he's great at, talking to get the team ready for, the next season. So I don't think, they have anything to worry about going into this next season. He's going to have everything straight. All
right, Niners at Green Bay. That's a 4:40 game Eastern on Sunday. Packers running back Eddie Lacy, my guest. Eddie, great to have you on. Appreciate the visit. Good luck to you.
All right, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Good talking to you, Eddie. Thank you.